So assembling the supersize hydrangea is exactly the same as assembling the traditional size that when you purchase my template. So we're just going to start with a few of the flowers. So I have assembled 30, so I'm hoping that is enough. So look at the instructions at the beginning of this video, and also the written instruction document linked. So we're just going to start shaping them to form almost like a semicircular, or the shape of the hydrangea that you prefer. And just by gathering the flowers together and the stems. So after you have quite a handful of them, usually anywhere like 5 to 7, then I start wrapping. But I don't want my stem or my flowers to get too thick too fast. And we're just going to work our way around. So I think my cup is probably going to fall over. Again, you're just going to start, I'm starting with 3 of them. And then we just start placing them. So I like to bend it at the top. Until we have the shape that we want. And that you can continue to move them around as needed, and they will shift as you start to assemble them. And that's okay. So again, I'm just bending the top. And you do want to see like the individual stems. That's what makes the hydrangea unique until how we're creating this. Again, I'm just bending it at the top. And depending how large you want it to go, your circle. We might not need as many as we need on a smaller one. I wasn't sure, so I just assembled the same amount as I make with my smaller. And of course, you can go as super size as you need. Your restriction is your size paper, so you could potentially cut 1 petal out of a 12 by 12 piece and have a ginormous hydrangea for your freestanding flower stand. So again, the limits are endless. So you think like for this larger petal, this is going to be a pretty large flower. And it'll be a super size, so it'll be larger than your traditional. But because we roll the petals, it doesn't get as large as you think it will. So you can start to see it take shape. So now I can start, so if I don't want it to move too much, pull your tape to activate it. And I'm just going to wrap it a few times below. And I'm just going to keep assembling, filling in the spaces until you have the shape that you want. And you're constantly just bending the flower to fit in. Keep checking your shape, and again, you can keep moving them around. So we have a pretty nice wide flower, so we can start to really shape her now. and fill it in. So how large would you make your hydrangea? And each one I make is just a little bit different, and that's okay. That's the way it should be, because no flower is exactly the same. Like, you're just continuously adding your tape just to hold it in place. And even as your paper florist artist or teacher, I thought for sure this would be much larger. But it is supersized, as we call it, meaning larger than your traditional size flower. And we will measure her once we're done. So again, I'm just filling it around, making sure she has the shape I want. That she's nice and full. Make sure you pull to activate your tape. Most important thing when working with floral stem tape. Now I am using white just because of the client order I'm working on for a wedding. So this will be used in a larger arrangement. Again, I'm filling it in. Move your petals around, make sure it fits in there. That's why, even though you thought it was so large when you were cutting it, when we folded our petals and when we're tucking it up underneath, it's not overly huge. So definitely I'd like to try a little bit bigger another time, or I challenge you to make a larger one. So again, looking at the overall shape, making sure it's even all the way around, getting a nice shape. So it's ending up being roughly 5.5 inches. Again, making sure you're filling in all the gaps. It's literally assembled and made just like your traditional. So it's not much different, like I mentioned, assembling it. So you can see from underneath. So it's coming out a little bit more over here, so we want to make sure it's even on both sides. Checking, keep rotating it around, and you can keep adding your tape to make sure it's secure. Ooh, it's so beautiful. Again, I keep turning it because I want to make sure it's even. I'm filling in any gaps. Like here's one. Now I'm using brown floral stem wire. Completely up to you if you want to use green or the brown. She's so stunning. Yes, friends, I still get amazed every time. So I cut 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we are at 6 left. Again, each one will be different on the number that you're going to use. Depending how you stem them. Keep checking that shape, keep turning it. Like here we have a nice gap. So I would say it's probably anywhere from 25 to 30 stems, depending on your placement of assembling them. And pull to activate your tape. Oops. Again, I'm just keep turning and I'm sorry if it makes you dizzy. I just want to make sure I have a nice shape to my flower. Just think, because depending on arrangement, maybe it's bent out one way or another. Who's looking at it from one side, who's looking at it from another. Oh, it's so beautiful. I think she is beautiful. And has a really good shape to her. What do you think? So I did use 27. So if you wanted to, you definitely could fill all 30 in, but it's not necessary. Again, depending on your flower, like how you arrange them. I think it's perfect. So now we're going to add our stemming in there, some additional stemming to thicken it up. So now I'm using the 16 gauge. But I may add 2 just because these are thicker. But we are also going to add in our stems. So I'm going to try 1, wrap it, maybe thread in a second one. Now my arrangements I'm using in these are much taller glass vases. So I need my flowers to be a supersize size, much larger, to be able to handle the larger vase. So I am going to add my stem. So pull off a piece of floral tape, pull to activate the glue. And I'm going to start where I previously ended. I'm going to wrap it a few times, again pulling to activate the glue. And we're going to thread the stem in between the others. And I like to pull and twist at an angle. So normally I will twist with my right, but I think I have to get into, there we go. I'm twisting and pulling the tape. So now it just went down to the regular stem. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. Some floral tape, super sticky, some not so much. Again, I'm pulling to activate the tape, and I am going to butt a second one up there just to keep next to the stem, just to have it a little bit thicker to support the weight. So I'm going above where I added it, wrap it a few times, and then come down at an angle. Now we are going to be adding, well, in my case I'm adding leaves. So twist and pull at an angle. Okay. So I'm going to prepare my leaves now. Okay, to create the leaves, you simply use your craft glue and glue one side, attach the wire, you put glue over the top, and then you glue the 2 leaves together, just like you do with the normal hydrangea as provided in the instruction document when you purchase the template. So we have everything assembled. Our shape, we have our long stem. Now we're just going to attach the wire or the leaves. So I have 2 smaller and 1 larger, and I'm just going to bend them back using my hand. I like that particular look. Now you can also use your dowel rods to shape them a little bit. So maybe the leaves come up at certain areas. So depending on the look that you're going for. So we're going to attach one. So I'm going to take my floral tape. Now this one is not particularly sticky, so you can see how I handle it is because it's not that sticky, I'm adding glue to my stem to get that a first initial contact. And then you go right to where you want to attach it. So again, because mine's not sticky, and these are larger, so you could do that whether you have super sticky or not tape. And look at that, it just popped off. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of glue where I'm going to start my tape. I'm going to come down a little bit from where I'm attaching it. I'm pulling and going up at the same time. I'm going to go over that same spot and then come down at an angle. So you're overlapping as you're turning your tape. Okay, and then I am going to add some glue to the end. So again, if you buy one that's not particularly sticky, that's okay. You just secure the ends with hot glue. We make it work. Again, pull to activate. Now I'm going to attach the larger petal. So I did a smaller, we're going to do larger. And again, I'm just going to bend it backwards. So how much curl you want it to have. This is why we use a more flexible wire in between my two layers. So it makes it super duper easy. Oops. And again, you can curl at any point, any part of the petal. Totally up to you. Or you can wait till you're assembling. So again, I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to go to the opposite side, just like I did with our smaller or traditional size hydrangea. Okay. And I apologize if it goes off camera. It's super hard to film at this size. And we are going to add some glue. I'm going to come down a little bit from where I originally just attached it. We're going to wrap up. And then I'm going to come down at an angle, making sure to overlap. So our stem is getting thicker because we are adding multiple floral stem wire to it. Again, I'm adding that hot glue just because my tape is not super duper sticky. And then we just have our third leaf. And I'm bending back. So maybe you want to have the leaf rolled back a little. Completely up to you, the look that you're going for. And we're going to add some glue. So I want to make sure I'm at least higher than this part where it's all meeting. So I'm just going to come up just a little bit. So I'm doing mine in between the other two petals. Pull to activate. My glue doesn't want to stick today. We're going to add some glue there where we're going to attach our tape. So I'm going to start below, watch your fingers, wrap up. And go around a few times to make sure I cover that. And then I'm going to come down at an angle. Now we can move our stem into place, so if it did shift a little, that's okay. And keep overlapping. Now I'm putting these in a larger or a taller vase, so I do need some height. Just be careful, you may have to build up your stem at the bottom here by adding additional wire to make it thicker to hold it. So you can use the thicker wire, some in-between wire. So pull to activate. We just set that right in there with your other one. Sorry, I keep turning it. I'm going to add some glue, again, just because, not sticky. But it's also a good lesson for you, so if you do have some in your stash, like I keep mentioning. So you're pulling this tautly, because normally my hands will be super duper sticky. So I'm going to cut mine off where all three meet, so you just use your wire cutters. And always put your taller pieces in a bucket to save to use for another project. So we're just going to finish wrapping this. Again, I'm going to add my hot glue. I come down a little bit below. Wrap up a little and then come back down. And then secure your ends. Oh, she's beautiful. Mine's about 20 inches tall, depending on how long you want your stem. The ball of the hydrangea is approximately 5.5 inches in diameter. Now lastly, just because of my project and using the white, I like to add a little bit of vintage photo. So this will be used in wedding decor. And I literally very lightly brush some on the tips of the petals. So you're just going to turn it at all different angles, because depending on where you're sitting, like in an arrangement, where are you going to see the highlights. And you can always ink in the center if you wanted to. You can view the wire. How little or as much as you ink is completely up to you. I don't do too much, just enough. And there you have a supersize hydrangea. super stunning. So in your larger arrangements, and if you compare it to the traditional, you can see that it is much larger. So thank you for watching, and I hope I can inspire you to make a supersized hydrangea today.